So let's discuss something known as a fuse. So the first thing I want to do is I want to draw the symbol of a fuse. Now, what a fuse looks like is this, but it has a line through it. Okay, don't get it confused with the rectangular. That rectangular over there is a resistor. That's not what it looks like. It has a wire inside it. Now, as you can see in these images, a fuse contains a small wire within it. And what a fuse does is it protects an appliance. And the way it protects an appliance is if there's too many electrons, if the current is too high, because what is current? Current is the flow of electrons. So if there's too many electrons flowing through the wire, what tends to happen is like your light bulb is it heats up, right? Your light bulb, 95%, right? Unless you've got energy efficient light bulbs. But a lot of the energy in a light bulb is actually given off as heat. So what a fuse does is it heats up, and when it heats up, the fuse actually breaks. The wire actually snaps because the temperature gets too high. So what we tend to say is the fuse has blown, and that prevents too much current from going into the actual appliance and protects your appliance. So what the fuse is kind of like a sacrifice. It burns itself up. It makes the circuit incomplete because now you've got a gap in the circuit where the fuse has blown. So the current can't pass through. That protects your appliance. And the fuse has to get actually replaced for the appliance to actually work. But usually they're like 25 pence. But what you actually have to know is, how do you know what kind of fuse you could get? Because you could get 3 amp fuse, which will allow 3 amps, 5 amp fuse will melt at 5 amps, and so forth. So how do I know? Well, if I know that my appliance will take a 7 amps, can handle 7 amps, what I'll choose is a 9 amp fuse. The reason why I choose it slightly higher is because if it's normally taking 7 amps, I don't want it to use a 7 amp fuse and it will melt with 7 amps. I want it to be slightly higher. So if it's 7 amps, go for the 9 amps. If it's like 10 amps, you got a 10 amp is your normal current, try and choose maybe like a 12 amps or 13 amps. In an exam question, they will ask you and they may give you certain options, and you always choose a fuse that has slightly above the current, not lower, because if you choose a 3 amp fuse and the normal current you take is 5 amps, your fuse is just going to break and it won't work properly. Now, there are alternatives to fuses we're going to talk about. So I'll make a separate video talking about circuit breakers and so forth, which you don't need to keep on replacing. Some of these you just have to, just turn a switch back up and it'll be fine. But with a fuse, you do have to replace them.